It's Friday, January 12th. I'm your host, Sarah Beal. On today's show, we head out to Sandy Neck to talk with Beach Park Manager Nina Coleman about the effects of last week's storm. Then we'll talk with Program Coordinator Tim McGrath about some basketball programs being run through the Recreation Division. And finally, we learn about the New Classics Company who reside at the Geyer Barn on the High Arts campus. But first, let's get a look at today's top headlines. There was a packed house at this week's school committee meeting. Parents, students, teachers, and community members all came out to show their support for Coach Chris Whidden. Whidden was recently dismissed as the head football coach at Barnstable High School.
History, as it were, demands we take a close look at the indisputable facts in regard to Coach Whidden's tenure. Of the 134 seasons played at Barnstable High School since 1893, there have only been 21 head coaches. Of those 21 head coaches, Coach Whidden ranks 6th all-time in terms of win-loss percentage. He is one of only 6 coaches out of the 21 who have put up a winning record in his first campaign. Of those 21 coaches, only 5 have coached for 7 or more seasons. Coach Whidden is one of them. Of those 21 head coaches, only 4 have coached the Red Raiders to 9 or more wins. 3 of those 4 head coaches are enshrined in the Barnstable High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Coach Whidden, not yet in the Hall of Fame, is one of those 4 coaches.
He stands out because he goes above and beyond. He encourages not only his football team, but his other coaches and families. I've observed students who without Chris would not have gone to college. I've watched Chris set up interviews, arrange tutoring, work with teachers for students to be just that, student athletes.
What he's taught me is unforgettable. I've been through the summers. I was a small kid. I didn't know what to do, and I went to the workouts that Coach Whidden provided, and he made me the man I am today. He's helped me through everything. He's also been my teacher for 4 years. He wrote my recommendation letter for college. I'm in the process of getting recruited to play at the collegiate level, and I would be nowhere without Coach Whidden. What he says to coaches about me is unbelievable, what they tell me, and it would just be disheartening to see him go. And I just believe this is unfair, and he should be reinstated as our head coach. Thank you.
While the school committee has no input on hires or fires, Chair Chris Joyce said he appreciated everyone's comments and time. The Marine Environmental Affairs Division will be holding a commercial shellfish permit lottery. The lottery will be held on February 1st. New commercial shellfishing permits may be issued at the rate of 1 new permit for every 1 non-renewed permit or permit that is void as a result of other causes. To become eligible for a new commercial permit, you must apply by January 31st and pay the non-refundable $5 application fee. All completed legitimate applications will be entered into the lottery. If you have any questions, please contact the Marine Environmental Affairs Division at 508-790-6272. Coming up next, we'll chat with Sandy Neck Beach Park Manager Nina Coleman. Nina, thank you so much for joining us today. We're out at Sandy Neck. Today is a little bit different than it was about a week ago. A huge storm came through last week and really did a lot of damage here on Sandy Neck. So let's kind of start with the gatehouse and what happened there.
Well, as you know, we had a huge storm surge. It really was just one tide cycle, so the storm came in very quickly. My hypothesis is the marsh was pretty full of frozen water. That ice was holding a lot of water in there, so there wasn't much space for additional water. In came this huge tide with the power of the storm behind it. We had an enormous storm surge from the marsh side, so we all know 6A was flooded. Many of the Sandy Neck cottages were flooded upwards of 36 inches in some of them out by the cottage colony. Our gatehouse was flooded. We had about 18 inches in the gatehouse. We're presently knocking down walls, pulling out insulation, trying to get that up and running because the season is actually, the summer season, or preparing for the summer season is just around the corner for us. So the storm surge was the big topic with this particular event. It was a nor'easter. It was a strong nor'easter, but it was really 1 to 2 tide cycles. So in terms of erosion on our front beach and our dunes, our north-facing coastline, it definitely affected it. You can see behind us we have erosion, but it wasn't extreme. It wasn't an extreme event because it was so quick. So we're looking at a winter profile out here of our beach that would be a concern if we had another nor'easter and then another nor'easter,
Which could happen.
which could happen, has happened. Weather is pretty crazy right now.
Yeah.
Little extremes,
Yeah.
as we know. So as of today, we still have dune protecting our parking lot. But if we have a series of storms, we're going to start to get in the red line with our infrastructure, our parking lot, bathhouse, and we'll have to respond appropriately for that, get some sand out here. But again, for now, this is not our main concern. Our concern is the properties and land adjacent to the Great Marsh. All the trails have been flooded and affected. There's damage to our trails, which is making it hard for cottage owners to reach their properties and secure their properties and determine, damage. So we're more really in crisis zone on the interior of our beach.
Trying to figure out, the best way to, is there a way to reinstate or reinstall the trails and get them to be passable? Is there a plan for that?
Really wrong time of year to do that.
Yeah.
You can't even get to them to fix them. Nor would you want to put in materials this time of year just to have them all wash out again.
Yeah.
You really want to get that material in early spring, and then it gets packed down and becomes kind of part of the landscape.
Right.
But we do, we are looking at what we need to do to get cottage owners, out, particularly the cottage colony, which again was considerably flooded. I am told, and I may have mentioned this at the beginning, but well over the blizzard of 78 for storm surge. So
Right.
that's pretty phenomenal. So the cottage owners, they mark it. They
Yeah.
mark the storms. And, a lot of Cape Codders
Oh,
do.
yeah.
They mark the different storms, and I'm told this one was 11 inches higher than
Wow.
78, and 78 sat here for days and days.
Wow.
Which is why the front beach took such a hit for blizzard of 78.
Right.
So it was pretty extreme for one tide.
Yeah, I'd say so. It was, I know that Natural Resource Officer Sean Cordes posted a video of the surge going up one of the trails, and it was just quick and fast and ferocious.
It was ferocious.
Yeah.
It was, I keep trying to explain, like Bay of Fundy.
Yeah.
You had to run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that quick, and
Yeah.
that's why we had vehicles swamped on 6A.
Right.
You really had minutes
Yeah.
to get out
There
of
was
there
no-
before you could.
There was no notice that it was going to happen.
Exactly.
It just happened. Like you said, with the ice flows that were already in the marsh, and when we were driving down 6A, we could see them. You could see where they came up onto the road. I mean, it's just one of those storms. Hopefully, we don't continue to have storms like we did. I think it was about 2 years ago. It was like every Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. We had a storm every single week. So fingers crossed for the sake of Sandy Neck that doesn't happen again. What are some of the things that we can do in the future to maybe protect against this kind of thing? I mean, I know it's, when you don't know it's going to happen, there's not much you can do, but is there anything that we can maybe try to plan on in the future? I know there's the Coastal Resiliency Plan that we tried to move forward. Where are we with any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there's long-term and there's short-term, responses, which, we're in a new age right now, and we definitely need to look long-term, and that's something that that we have been working on as staff and trying to figure out ways to make this this property able to handle really tough winters, storm after storm, and that's ultimately what you want to have a property be able to manage or have, be able to deal with, and then still have to respond a little bit. Things like the gatehouse, small changes in the gatehouse that we need to do, such as, there's a dog, such as getting everything up higher, getting all our utilities up higher. These are small changes that, when we have a flood event, will save us quite a bit of money.
Right. I know you said at Sandy Neck Board this week that the gatehouse was built, in 91. And you have seen water underneath it before, but not like this. So, I mean, 91 to now, and it has been jacked up since 91, right?
So it was built jacked up, and I said 91 at the board meeting. It was right around there.
Okay.
So
give or take.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
I can't remember. And my plan, which is in digital, is
Right.
swamped. So
Right.
I can't tell you, which is another problem, is all
Right.
that history was lost
Right.
in this flood event in the gatehouse, or some of it was. But yes, so that was elevated already when it was built because it is in a floodplain.
Right.
Clearly, that was
Not
not
enough.
high enough.
Yeah.
The floodplain maps have changed, so likely that level should have been higher to begin with. But even then, it still wasn't high enough.
Right.
And that's a big warning.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying to us right now. Is it's pretty extreme, and so 18 inches of water above the floor is a lot of water.
That's a lot of water. Yeah.
So, like I said, we're going to try to get everything up, outlets, phone jacks, heating units, everything up,
yep.
and then remove everything off the floor for the winters. So just that change is going to be positive, and there's little changes we can do. In terms of this dune, we have funding that we can use to already built into our budget to put some more sand on here.
Okay.
So but those are all Band-Aid things.
Yes.
Overall, that we need to really look at this. This is the new reality we live in.
Yep, it is. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Nina,
Thank
for
you.
chatting with us today. And I'll check in with you again when I talk to you next, and probably in about a month. We'll see where we're at.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
My guest today is Nina Coleman. She's the Sandy Neck Beach Park Manager here out at Sandy Neck. Coming up, we'll learn all about the new Classics Company. But first, Program Coordinator Tim McGrath. Tim, thank you so much for joining us today. We want to talk about a couple of different things. First is high school basketball. I know it's kind of like one of those winter sports, so I know it's just getting underway. What's going on with high school basketball at the HYCC?
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, so we have the high school basketball league, which we actually have at BIS.
Oh, okay, great.
And it's Saturday afternoons. We have 3 games every Saturday, and then we do have a couple games on Wednesday nights. It's been a super popular program over the last couple of years. This is my first year running it, but we have just about 60 kids. We have 6 teams with 10 kids each, and the kids have a great time. We have referees that come and do the game, so it's legitimate basketball games, and the kids have a blast, and it's been a pleasure running it. It's really fun.
Do they have like regular practices on top of the games that they play?
So they don't have practices, they just have the games each week. What we do is the first week is a big tryout, so John Gleason and myself evaluate everybody, and then we spread everybody out so that the teams are as even as they can be, and then if the kids want to get together and practice, that's up to them, but for the most part, they just show up and play and have a great time. That's
wonderful. And this is high school age, so is this like 8th grade to 12th grade?
It is, yeah. So it's predominantly upperclassmen, but there are some 8th grade and 9th graders in there as well.
Wonderful. And this is kind of separate from the high school's basketball team. You know, this might be some of the kids that maybe don't want to play on the high school team, or maybe they, their skills aren't, quite up to making the team, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's anyone from, has never played before up until as long as they're not on the varsity team. So we do have some freshman players or JV players, as long as they're not on a varsity team. So it's kids from outside of Barnstable as well that do play. So it's really a great mix of talent and a great mix of kids as well.
Wonderful. Staying on the basketball theme, you also have an after-school basketball program?
We do. So we have Wednesdays and Fridays are at BIS after school, the 6th and 7th graders. We have 66 kids in that one, and then we have Tuesdays and Thursdays at BUES. We have about 60 kids in that.
Wonderful. I feel like maybe basketball is kind of one of those sports that slowly, and not that it never went away, but it's like, it kind of waned in popularity. So maybe this is kind of a great feeder program to like build up the basketball programs here in the town.
Yeah, I hope so. It's super popular, and this is my first winter with the town, so it's been a learning experience about the program, but it's really been a blast, and the kids have a lot of fun, and hopefully they're learning a lot as well.
Yeah, that's great. I also want to talk, you are, in charge of aquatics within the recreation division, and I know lifeguards is something that's there's always a need for that every year. And I know last year you kind of had a swimming and lifeguard style program to kind of build people up so that they could try out to be lifeguards, and you're planning on offering that again. I know that nothing's been finalized yet, but I want to talk a little bit about that program because I know it was really popular and it gave you quite a few lifeguards last summer.
Absolutely. So yeah, last year we ran it after school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're still working out the timing of the program, but we're going to run it again definitely this spring. to get as many lifeguards as we can for the summer because, you know, like you said, we're always in need of lifeguards, not just in Barnstable, but across the Cape. That lifeguards are a premium, that we need them, and they need to be well trained, and that's something that we want to bring to the table.
Yeah, safety is important. I know here in the town of Barnstable, and having a well-equipped, I don't want to say well-stocked. That doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, you want to make sure you have the right amount of lifeguards so that there is no problems during the summer that you have to close any of the beaches or any of the ponds because you don't have the staff. So, what's kind of like the requirements? One, to take the class that you'll offer in the spring, and also to be a lifeguard.
So the big thing is to be lifeguard certified, you have to be at least 15 years old. In the town, we have kids that are 15 or 16 be lifeguard aides for a year. The only exception to that is if they were a lifeguard aide at 15, they can be a full lifeguard at 16, and then 17 and above are all full lifeguards. Which the lifeguard aide position is something that we have that not many towns do, and it really gives kids a real experience and real training about how to be a lifeguard and the responsibility that comes with that. They also learn how to teach swim lessons. They watch first aid happen. They never are hands-on. They're never the first responder to anything. But it's a great opportunity for them to learn to come out of their shell a little bit, because they're usually the one that has to get down and tell someone that, you know, they have to move into the swim area or they can't fly a kite. So it's a great opportunity for young kids to kind of come out of their shell and be comfortable dealing with situations that they'll have to deal with when they're older. Right.
It's a great way so they have that confidence. So when they are a lifeguard, you know, they know what's expected of them. They know how to do that, how to approach somebody and be confident in their skills.
Absolutely.
So I think that's wonderful that you guys offer that program, and I think it's great that, you know, the lifeguards 17 plus. I think it's such an important job that you want to be sure that the person that is doing it, you know, understands the severity of it and the what it is that they're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
That's great. So we'll tell our viewers, you know, to really keep their eye out for the information. I know as soon as you have it, you'll give it to us so we can let them know, because, you know, as well as being a lifeguard in the town of Barnstable, being, you know, an important job, it's also, I know that they have a lot of fun. They have great camaraderie between them, and they all, you know, it becomes like a family.
They absolutely do, and we really try hard to make sure that happens. And, you know, I was a lifeguard growing up for the town of Barnstable, and I absolutely loved it, and that's what I want to keep going.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you, Tim, so much for coming in and talking to us about the basketball programs, as well as hopefully looking forward to the lifeguard and swimming classes coming up this spring.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks. My guest today is Tim McGrath. He's a program coordinator in the Recreation Division.
New Classic started in 2013. For a very long time, myself and my two friends from college, Justin Gray and Brett Burkhardt, we'd always talked about starting our own theater company, and we came up with the idea. It was sort of a selfish thing between the three of us. We just wanted to put on a show together. We missed each other and we wanted to put on a show, so we just came up with this name, New Classics Company, and picked out a show, The Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged, and we set out to do that. So they came down to the Cape in August of 2013, and in 2 weeks we rehearsed and put on the show the following weekend, and then they came back 2 weeks later and we did a couple more shows. And by the end of that run, we had really fell in love with the characters we had made for that play, so we decided to write another show, and we told ourselves next summer we're going to do it all again. We're going to do another show. It became more of a realized entity that winter of 2014 when I met with Lisa Kavanaugh, who's the coordinator here at the Geyer Barn, and she was basically pitching to me using the barn as a performance space, and I immediately jumped at the idea because, like we do in improv, I usually just say yes and then we move on. So I immediately said yes, and then I thought about the repercussions of saying yes, and realized we had a lot of work to do. But moving forward, we got to that summer of 2014, and we ended up putting, in 7 weeks, we were in residence here, and we ended up putting on 3 full play productions, including that sequel to our Complete Works of Shakespeare show, which ended up being I've Got a Bad Feeling About This, a tribute to George Lucas, which was a lot of fun. And then from there, it's kind of become, we've sort of solidified into a core group of people putting on these productions in the summertime, and then out of the summertime residency, improv sort of has spiked off from that, and now we're here all the time. After Georgie's Full Swing opened, we said, let's do an improv show. So one of the Fridays after the show got out, we had the audience, we invited them to stay, and we did an improv show. And it went really well, surprisingly. And we had a lot of fun, everyone else had a lot of fun. So then a couple weeks later, we tried another one. A couple weeks after that, we tried another improv show, and then we all kind of felt really good about it. And we were like, we should do more of that next summer. So then the next summer, the very first Friday of our residency here in the barn, we did an improv show, and then it was basically decided that, hey, we're going to do an improv show the rest of the summer every Friday. And then as we were doing that, we started picking up people who were coming to the shows and actors from other productions we were doing here in the barn and saying, hey, you should come to improv rehearsal. Hey, you would probably be good at that. And then by the end of the summer, we had this core group of people who were very into it, and then the summer ended, and everyone who had been doing improv didn't want to stop, so it just kind of took off from there. I remember Lisa and Melissa came to the show that night, and they were like, we've never seen this many people in the barn before. So that really put us in the good graces with the town. And from there, we've been doing our best to try to keep that relationship great, because they treat us very, very well, and we appreciate everything that the town has done to let us use this space and really call it our home.
Improv is just short for improvisation. You know, it's just spontaneous creativity, which can be a lot of fun when you channel it into games and exercises as a team. So it can be defined a lot of different ways, I guess, but what we do here is we essentially play games and make up scenes off the tops of our head. On Friday nights, we take audience suggestions based on prompts given from a host, and our players will step forward and play a game based off those prompts. And all the games have different rules and different formulas. Some people might recognize them from a program like Whose Line Is It Anyway? But there are a lot of games that we've made up in-house that I'm actually pretty proud of quite a few of our own original ideas that keep everything fresh and new, because that's really the challenge, is making up something over and over again, but every time making it different and exciting and funny, hopefully.
As you can see, throughout the wetlands there's a deep rumbling of a low pressure system.
I got involved through free workshops that New Classics was offering, specifically improv workshops. I came in, played a bit, and they said, hey, you should start coming to our Tuesday night rehearsals. So I did, and after some time, there was kind of just not really a gap, but a need for someone to kind of step up and start really running the rehearsals and the Friday night shows, and I just kind of fell naturally into it. Never quite knowing what's going to happen. Just that kind of anxious feeling that at first is scary, but after a while starts to become comfortable and familiar. And you go out there and you get a suggestion, you have no idea what it's going to be, and anything that you thought you were going to do or ideas you had just go out of your mind, and you just start fresh every time, every scene. So that's exciting, and challenging yourself to do something different and not fall into old patterns, but explore new ideas every time that's what I love. That's what keeps me coming back. So. We have people that do a really great job of just constantly surprising you with how funny they can be and the new hats they can wear every time. So. Our shows are family friendly. We really strive to, and I emphasize greatly, we want to get to the heart of what makes everybody laugh. Just being constantly surprised by the humor and intelligence of people. There are some moments where you think you've seen it all and someone just blows your mind and you just laugh, and just that feeling of being able to come in here and escape from the craziness of everything else outside the barn and laugh with some really talented people. That's what's great about it.
Now let's take a look at next week's meeting schedule. Just a reminder that town offices will be closed on Monday in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which means we will also be off. We'll be back on Tuesday with an all-new show. On Tuesday's show, we'll talk with Assistant DPW Director Rob Steen and talk with Senior Center Activities Coordinator Susan Griffin. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.